This journey will guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah, we hide.
Welcome back to Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh. I know it's been a short while, but as you can see, I am back in the UAE. I'm back in the studio, and I'm joined by co-host, guest, Matt Smithson.
Hey mate, how are you?
Yeah,
I think guest might be better these days. I think I'll come and go a little bit in the future. We haven't been in here and done this together, I think, since we did the Tadej and Peter in October, maybe?
Yeah, and I'm not sure we actually haven't done one in this, because this is a new part of the building as well. So this is the first time I've been back in the UAE since the UCI Worlds 24, and this is... I've been blown away by this. This was like in construction last time I was here. And then we've got the new studio, we've got the new broadcasting studio, and then we've got this place, the new cycling studio next door with a big wall, which I've not seen turned on yet, but I need to, this big LED wall in front. It's really taken a step forward, this place.
Yeah, so it seems like the UCI World Championships was about 2 weeks ago. I know it wasn't. I think it was 7 months ago or something now. I think I'm still recovering. I think we all are. I think we're closer to the next one than we were from the last one. We're slowly getting there on that. But yeah, so we've taken out a big building next door to where the normal office is. We've got the podcast studio, we've got the studio for photography, we've got the broadcast. But what we're doing, and I think we can announce this and talk about this, is the big studio next door, I think's got 18 or 20 bikes, iPads, all of those things in there. The goal, now I'm still working towards this, is if MyWhoosh users stop off in Abu Dhabi, maybe going somewhere else in the world, get a 3-4 hour break from the airport, come on down, jump on, do a session. If you're holidaying in the UAE, you want to meet the team, you want to come and say g'day, it's going to be available for our MyWhoosh users to use and learn a little bit about MyWhoosh and the Middle East.
It's a broad invite to the community there, but I can also appreciate, because we're right next to the airport.
Yeah.
And also, I've been here for a week now, actually, and it's 42 degrees today. So we got out early this morning for a ride, but I imagine unless you're getting out at 5:30 a.m., this is too warm to be riding in. So I totally get why MyWhoosh, not just here, but other, states and countries where the temperature just doesn't allow you to ride outside, totally get why we've got so many users.
Exactly. And people always talk about, it must get hot over there and all that. It does. Like as it's getting now, we got out this morning, I reckon another 3 weeks and it's going to be brutal. Like I think it feels like 47 yesterday at lunchtime. Yeah. It was hot and I live here. But it's like other places in the world. When it snows, you can't go out either, right? So it's just the reverse of that. And it's why MyWhoosh came about and why it's free. There's a huge population here in the Middle East that can't get out. And so that's how MyWhoosh came about originally, something to do indoors, keep entertained. And then we had a great product and we've pushed it out to everybody. But yeah, it's here. We're really close to the airport. Like literally, we're 2 or 3 kilometers from the airport. So it'll be a 15 dirham cab ride. Someone can come down and jump on a bike and have a roll around some of our worlds and go back and get their plane for the next leg of their journey.
So if you needed an invite, there it is.
There it is. Let me know.
As ever, Matt has distracted me from the intro that I was going to do, which is all good, but this happens when you and I get together, right? But just for the community, there's loads we're going to talk about. We've mentioned the UCI World Champs from 2024. We've got to talk about 2025 later in the show as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about MWC, the MyWhoosh Championships, because that's the big thing. Registration opens, I think, in 4 days from when we're recording today. So that's going to be the hot topic of discussion later. There's some interesting, tasty, grippy stages that I think I want to work through as well. We've got this new release, which has got some awesome integrations. We've got to get into that as well. The feature that I've been working on with the team with the MyWhoosh MISSION, so we'll talk about that. However, the classic season, we got to talk. You and I love bikes.
Yeah.
We've been out quite a bit this week and as well, and we like talking bikes. We like talking what's happening. The tour's on its way, but let's talk about what's just been happening in the last couple of weeks. There's been some standout moments for me this season. Strada Bianchi with Pogacar, and I was in two-man drags. We were in this WhatsApp group, and there's a lot of chat when these racing's happening as well. And I'm a Brit, so Pidcock was up there as well, and I'm behind my man. But I've also got this connection now with the UAE and MyWhoosh, and it's on his shorts and so on. So it was a difficult one for me, and Tom did the right thing and sat up at Strada when he crashed, arguably, and then Tadej goes and wins. So that's sort of my moment. But also, can you remember when we did that podcast with Tade, we asked him about Roubaix, and he was sort of. I'm looking at the producer here as well because he was there. We didn't get a real clear answer. It was like, yeah, we don't think so. We don't think it's in the plan. And then he rocks up. Yeah,
I've heard from a few of the people on the inside that it was a bit of the plan, I think, all along, and a bit of a build into it. And yeah, look, that was a great race.
I mean, it didn't go his way in the end because
that's right.
He crashed out again.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
great racing.
Like considering it's out there the first time, like I've seen those cobbles brutal. Highlight of my classic season was being at Tour of Flanders, I'll be honest. Let's forget about the racing.
But yeah,
I got to spend the day at Flanders, and that was an absolute highlight for me. I've been lucky enough to go to a number of bike races, but standing on the Quaremont, taking home a beer glass, all of those things was some highlights. Yeah, the beer glasses are awesome. They've got the cobbles printed on the base, and the Quaremont beer, the percentage of alcohol, because you can get the 0% alcohol and you can get the 6% or whatever. It's done like the elevation for the races. Right. So it'll say 6.4 and it's got the angle on it. It's really cool. So I had to come home with one of those. But look, I'm gonna flip mine a little bit because I watch a lot of women's cycling as well as I do the men's. Yeah. Talking about Strata, I thought that Anna Vagabragen's comeback out for a couple of years, comes back, gets there at the end. Like that was a pretty cool event. And then I'm a big fan of Pauline
Ferrand-Prévot.
Yes, you forget my pronunciation. Let's go with Pauline.
The legend,
I go. Everyone talks about greatest cyclists of all time. On pure World Championships results, nothing comes close. World Championships in cyclocross, mountain bike, road, all of that, everything that you can win, comes out and wins Roubaix, right? First season back on the road, highly competitive in a sport that, let's be honest, has moved on greatly since 2013, 2014 when she was doing that. Yep. Huge highlights in both of those. Then we've got the lowlights, which is the Oliveira twins last week. Having the stage taken off him, he's never won a race before, sitting on the front for UAE all the time. Then his twin brother wins the final stage. So I've got to call that out because they're the two nicest guys in cycling. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it was horrifying. I watched it and I'm like, they're not going to like this. So that, and then, we head into the tour now. Like we've got had all the lead-in stuff. Tade's out there just,
talking about Grand Tours, we've just had the Dauphiné, which was phenomenal. Tade just looking super strong, but we got the Giro as well, right? And yes, it didn't go UAEs in the end because Yates did what he did on that last stage. But we're fortunate enough that we rode with some people who were connected with the team today as well. And I just said to him, Del Toro. Yeah. What an absolute fan. I was thinking he'd been there for a few years, but he's like, no, first year. Yeah. Super young, super talent, and what a team of talent there is there now.
It's unbelievable. And, I saw some controversial things out of the team yesterday about, people attacking and not chasing and all of that. And that happens when you bring superstars together. Yeah. So, I still think the focus 100% is Tade. Yeah. For the tour. Talking of the tour, I said to you this morning, everyone's going to disagree with me here, but I think Evenepoel is a way bigger threat than anyone's given credit for. I think that I've not seen somebody that gets so much better as these races go on. Everything he's won is so long. He starts to dominate in these last couple of hours of these big races. Last year he was injured and he hung around for way longer in that tour than he should have. Can he beat Tade 1-1? I don't know. Is there a slight slip up here? He's going to be hanging around well into the third week is my tip. But as usual, we'll do this podcast and everyone will laugh at me in 5 or 6 weeks'
We'll either
time.
be right or wrong. I can only see that if Evenepoel chips away early doors in that first week and gets enough of a buffer to hang on or whatever, in those when it starts to get a bit lumpier towards the end of the tour. Yeah. I think that's the only way. He's got to start early and picking up some time somewhere. That's the only way I see that.
It's a pretty solid first week though, so people are going to be, I think, a little tighter than usual. But let's see. I like him. I like his attitude. I like the way he races. But Tade is just like we saw what he did.
I'm struggling to see past Tade right now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's things that people have not seen before. It's fantastic for the sport. Nicest bloke you'll ever meet, as we found out. I believe we'll get to have a chat again later in the year.
I'll look forward to that. I hope that happens, and I think that maybe this is an opportunity as well for the community to get involved in the podcast as well, and whether Matt's prediction is right or wrong. But let us know what you think in the community of what's going to happen in the tour. Is Tadej going to walk away with this, or is there someone else? Is Matt right or wrong with his prediction? So you're saying he's going to be there or thereabouts? So you're saying Evenepoel could take the win? He's going to be there or thereabouts for sure. And like I say, he's running an injury. But tag us in on those socials, on Instagram, on the podcast, #RideWithMyWhoosh. You're going to see this hashtag knocking around a little bit more frequently as well. Let's get on to esports. Yep. All right, and the big one, first of all, is I think we've got to talk about is MyWhoosh Championships. Like I say, as we said, registration opens up just in a few days' time here. I know I'm itching to sign up, and I know you are as well, and we've had a discussion about teams and so on. But give us a little bit of background in sort of how you went, how we devised the routes and the plan, and why it's here again.
Yeah, look, the first one we did was in 2023, and I don't know whether it's good or bad with the community, but I think that event sort of solidified that I was moving to the UAE and taking a little bit of a lead on where MyWhoosh is going. I came over here to assist, and we had a few things where we, the team we'd had some changes in the team, and I had to grab hold of sort of the verification and our team that's still here today, our events team. We were sitting up till 2:00 in the morning doing the verification, getting all the results out and all that. That was just so manual.
I feel lucky I was on the other side of that last time.
It was worse from a work perspective than the World Championships last year. They were long days, and I rode as well. Back then I was still in Cat 2, and so we had a great event. It built a lot of camaraderie. Last year, with our first year into the World Championships for UCI, we sort of elected we'll do a local one. And then it's back this year, bigger and better than ever. And it needs to be as hard as it is. I think for the amount of prize money, I think for the pinnacle of, I suppose, what MyWhoosh is. It's our championships, it's our event. It's not driven by what other platforms do, or, to be honest, in a way, it's not driven by what the riders want. Yep. I think SRC, we've started to mould more to what the riders want and how we fit in. And SRC and other events that we've got planned will evolve in that way. This one's a little bit how MyWhoosh want to do it. It's hard. Yeah. It's tough. There's going to be a reward. If someone doesn't get any prizes, there's the gift pack that's going to go out is worth. That's right. It's worth doing it. Yeah. Just for that alone. Like, that's all I'm going to get, right? But yeah, we want it to be hard. We want people to have to back up. We want it to be, the highlight of that week. You won't be able to go training. You won't be able to do anything else. There'll be days where you're out there just going, I want this to be over. And there's days you're going to go out there and you're going to go, I'm racing today.
Interesting. That's just raised a question on my mind, actually, which you have to think about. So for those who don't know, anyway, MyWhoosh Championships, $1 million prize purse for this across all the categories that we have, 1 to 6 categories, essentially. This is running from August the 12th to the 19th. So my question is here again, have I got to actually book time off as well, or can I class this as work? Technically riding the MyWhoosh Championships.
Yeah, good question.
There's a technicality there I've got to think about.
Last time I counted it as work, I sat in the lab with bottles of pickle juice around me the last 2 days last time, and I'm drinking literally pickle juice with pickles in it because I'm cramping, just trying to get to the end.
We'll have to have the pickle juice discussion another time.
It was a horrible time, but no, you look, I think there's going to be a crew of us here that'll race. Hopefully you'll race, I'll race. I'm sure some of the other team, our testing team, will be out there too.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Efren and Leonard that are racing, I think now in Cat 6, I think they're going to jump in. I think Rod, that's the head of the physics and dynamics, he's been out racing, getting prepared. So we might put a Cat 5 team together with the internal MyWhoosh guys.
Using a MyWhoosh team.
Yeah, we might.
Okay.
We might. Let's wait and see. I need the prize money, right? So they've got to live up to expectations.
It's interesting though to see the chat, because we did that sort of launch where we had that pixelated NWC.
Yep.
I think the guys who've done MyWhoosh Championships in the past knew it wasn't that secretive. I think everyone knew that was coming. But so as soon as we got that, I was getting messages of Luke Allport, other level members saying, right, what are we doing? What's the plan? Yeah. And they're like, Si, what's the route going to look like? And at that point, I'm like, no, I've pitched several ideas to Matt and the team, and I don't know what we're going with. Yeah. But let's talk about those stages, because it's it's not completely hilly. There are some climbing stages, and we've got Fuji in there as well. But there are some longer rolling stages as well. Have you sort of picked, because it's points, well, we've got these segments, right? So we've got GC, we've got sprint competition, climbing competition, under 23, I think, again this time as well, and a Masters.
Yep.
So we're going to be battling out for the Masters, because I think we're both, do I fit into the Masters?
You're
I
not
don't know what
riding
it is
Cat
now.
5, mate.
So, so we're doing Masters, per category.
Per category?
Yeah, no, so we're not going to be racing there, but there's going to be plenty of competition as well. But have you picked out already a stage where you think, right, that's my stage for yourself out of the bunch? So I can run through stages. Stage 1, Japan, 56 kilometers for the men.
Yeah, sorry. Just before we go into
Go
just a bit of thought on what the design's around.
Yeah.
So we try to model a mini Grand Tour. So we've got a couple of easy days, couple of rolling days, a tough hilly day, mountain day, time trial, and a flat finish. So that's sort of where we're at with it. We probably haven't had that discussion.
Yeah.
But that's the general thought around it, to give everyone a bit of a chance on it. But sorry, jump back in.
Yeah. So and that's what I thought, right? So we've had SRCs in the past that were quite climbing. There's a lot of elevation in there. That's changed a lot now as well, which I am very grateful for and starting to pick up some results. And I think that's also helped to onboard a bigger community in SRC now as well. You know, we've extended to 6 categories, but I also see more and more riders week in, week out, both men's and ladies in SRC, getting engaged because it's achievable. There's something for everyone. If you are a sprinter, and we had a chat about a New Zealand sprinter today, for example, the stages that you can target for SRC, and I see MWC the same. Yes, there's the bigger days, but there's the flatter days. There's the rolling days. The days when you're tempted, like, do I try and get off the front early with a few lads? And there's going to, all ladies. And then there's the days where you think, no, I've got to sit in and wait for the moment. There seems a really good mix, and there seems like it's just a great challenge as well. Even if you're not competitive, I did the tour that we did as well back in January. It was just a great challenge to come and ride for 7 days and replicate that Grand Tour feel, even if you don't think you're being competitive. And I've not had a result in SRC for a while, but I think there's somewhere I can help my team. Yeah. Although I'm not winning SRC. Yeah. And that's why I think it's hard, but it's going to be accessible at the same time and a challenge.
Yeah, it is. And because the teams, it's a little bit heavily team-based with prize money as well. So there's good prize money from teams. I think 7 teams, and your top 3 in each stage count. It's your results in that stage are locked and moved on. Yes. It's not the overall time for those riders. So I could be 5 hours down, but contribute on stage 6 as the second fastest rider, and my time's taken for that stage.
It's not always have to be the same 3. It's the
Correct.
3 fastest in each stage, right?
Correct, yeah. But for me, I probably don't these days have the power and things to go with people in the first 2 or 3 days of this. To me, I'll be hanging around trying to get around that 15th to 25th. The first few days, I'll battle through the mountain days to limit my losses. And then to me, my day's probably the time trial towards the end.
That's quite stage 5 or 6, if I remember.
Second last stage. Yeah. It's flat and then heads into the climb. Now, I'm the worst time trialist in the world on the road. On the trainer, I've done so many hours on it that I'm really good at knowing where my limit is. And so for me, my hope is that everybody's tired. It's a mass start, no drafting. And the one we did a couple of years ago was my best day as well. So I'm looking for I'd like a top 10 on that day. It sort of says that, I'm probably fit enough to get through this. But honestly, I've started training. I had a little bit of a break recently from work. I went over to Europe for a few days, did some climbing. All of a sudden, the form last week in SRC was a little stronger than it has been. And so I'm excited now to push forward and battle to try to get through this.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think it's a great opportunity as well if you've not raced SRC, encouraging those people to come on and get registered for SRC, because you can use that as part of that verification process as well. So if you've not done SRC, this could be the door, I think, to get on the platform. Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge, but great time of year to doing that as well. And if you're doing some of these Grand Fondos and Sportives that come up later in the year, September, October time, because that's also when we're having like Gravel World Champs, Grand Fondo World Champs and stuff. I think this is a nice block to fit in with that as well. You hadn't thought about that?
Yeah, no, I did. I remember the last time, and I could have these numbers slightly wrong, but I'm a Training Peaks addict, right, with my numbers and my TSB and CTL and all that sort of stuff. And usually at about minus 25, I'm not very good, I need to back off. That's just where I know my number is based on my FTP. And I think I went to minus 71 by the end of the MyWhoosh Championships last time. So I was in a world of hurt. Yeah.
So a couple of weeks recovery after that.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
This is the other thing. Talk about recovery as well, because there is a rest day, but
Well,
you've
is
sort of dastardly put this
Yeah.
in as the Sunday when people are going to be doing SRC. So technically, it's an extra day. And I'd be interested to see who skip SRC. I think SRC the week before and the weeks after are going to be pretty busy into the finals, because I think maybe a few people are going to skip that. But let's see what happens. It'll be interesting. The elites won't. We know that.
Yep.
The Osbornes, the Vinks, they're
Yep.
going to be there without
Yep.
question, I guess.
Yeah, I would think so. Although there's a lot of prize money at stake for
Yeah.
this, you know, and you've only got to falter on the time trial the next day, especially if it's close. Like, you know, if Kate or Gabriella or Catherine or someone's well in front or whatever. But I'm thinking if there's only 30, 40 seconds between some of the athletes with the prize money or the teams, I think that they may even skip SRC.
Yeah.
I know, I've got to be honest, I'm not riding SRC on that Sunday. No way.
No, because I mean, you've got that TT, like you say there, which again is going to be a challenge. But that last one also as well, it's like a tempter because it's so flat in Colombia, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, it's going to be hard, but I find those stages really tempting because, right, I've just got to hold on. I think I've got a reasonable sprint. I've just got to hold on, keep pushing,
Yep.
ready for that kick. So I really like the fact that you've thrown that in there because
And
amazing.
That route's got those little tiny kickers over the bridges.
Yeah.
Right? And what's going to happen is that there's going to be people fighting for positions. It's worth hundreds of dollars and teams. And people are going to dangle on and off the back over those little, because they're going to be tired.
Yeah.
And I think it's about 80K.
I wonder where they've put. I haven't checked with the team. I should know really because they've been testing the routes all this week. I wonder where they've put the banner, because on SRC and on the regular route, Columbia Trail, for example, you've got that sort of 400 meter, that extended one as well, and then you've got the 1K to the finish, where everyone always tries to push on that little kick.
I should have had a look because they were testing that the fireworks were working when I
Yeah.
walked past earlier. So, no, I didn't look. But yeah, on the stages, I think the Fuji Day for men is going to be extremely difficult. That's really going to be, for certainly us thicker set men, it's going to be a long day in the saddle out there. Like, I can lose an hour on that day, but that might just be, the day to the finish. And, we've got a prize for the old men and we've got a prize for the golf representative. So I'm in there for a battle for that. I might pick up a couple of sprint points somewhere along the way, but GC's out the window. I know I can't get up there, but
you've got to play part as a team, right? That's
I got to
my
help the
focus as well.
team on the other days. And I think for the ladies, I think the tougher day for them is going to be Zurich.
Yeah.
That's a hard circuit to get around that second lap, and I think it's 3 laps for the men.
Yep.
But I think the ladies there's a lot of ladies out there that are very, very good. I think will be good for 3 or 4 days. And this probably applies. Look, Cat 1 and 2 ladies, very different. But the 3 and 4 will be okay.
Yep.
The 5 and 6, they're really going to battle.
Yep.
As are the 5 and 6 men, to be honest.
It's going to be a challenge, that race.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's just relentless because it's constantly up and down.
And it's just that level of fatigue that some of the ladies, a lot of the ladies that are riding 4, 5 and 6 are newer to the sport.
Yeah.
A lot of the men in 4, 5 and 6 are a little bit older and been around a long time, where a lot of the ladies are quite new.
Yeah.
And they're new to cycling and they're quite strong. Certainly the Cat 4 ladies, they're super strong.
Yep.
But a lot of them will have not done this day in, day out stuff. Like 25 years ago, that's what we did. So
Yep.
I know what I'm going to feel like. It's going to be a very, very interesting thing for some of them to know how to manage this and how to get through it. But I'm also really interested for me, because as much as I've done this for a long time, I've learnt recently about the eating and drinking thing, right? So I'm Mr. Go out with one bidden for 150K, come home, the bidden's still half full, and I've had no food, and I've decided that I'm hunger flat because I'm not fit enough, right?
Yep.
That's my mind. And here with the heat and the salt and all of that stuff, I've started doing this drink on Saturday. 90 grams of carbs I take, so I do about 45 grams an hour with some salt and whatever. Get Saturday afternoon, I'm not laying in bed having a sleep. On Sunday, I feel great. So I'm learning.
Yep.
Yeah. So this year with that learning, how am I going to look on days 5 and 6 compared to what I have in the past? So, yeah.
It's interesting. It's really interesting you bring that up, because fueling is something I think the research, the sort of knowledge now that's around that, You know, I follow Jason Osborne's wife, partner Kate. You know, I think works a lot in this space as well, and I know she's doing the nutritional programs for quite a few of these athletes. That it's just changed so much. How much carbohydrate you need to be putting into your system, and not only is it helping the performance, but it's helping the recovery as well. You know, and I'm starting to feel. You know, I'm like an old never been. You know, and starting to take the nutrition seriously. I'm hoping that we're going to get some guests on, actually, from a nutrition point of view, because it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
I think it's changing so much now of how many carbohydrates per gram that you put into your body, you know, and from a, you know, electrolyte, sodium point of view as well. So hopefully we're going to get some guests in there as well. The other thing I think we're going to be doing is, I would say, go out and ride some of the longer events that we've got going now. We've got these endurance events which are happening on the platform. I know a couple of the coaches, the live coaches as well, are starting to put on some longer live sessions as well. I'm going to be doing that as well, because although we're opening registration on the 22nd, that gives us a good block still. And anyone who thinks, right, I'm not quite ready yet, we've got until August, right? So get yourself registered, I think, for the event. Get onto the Discord channels and the Facebooks. Find yourself a team if you haven't already got one. We've got 5 or 6 weeks until the competition is here to get yourself prepared for that event. And hopefully between now and then, as I say, we'll get some of these guests on as well, and we can talk about the nutrition. If you want to go and register, go and check over on MyWhoosh.com. Like I say, 12th to the 19th of August, when's that happening? Registration opening is, as I've said, 22nd of June. The other big thing we've got to talk about, because the announcement is out there and official now, UCI World 2025. Again, this week, I'm here. We've been a lot of discussions and planning there. Yep. Really cool format. You're in charge, so I'm not sure how much we can talk about this yet, or what, you know, exactly what we've put out there. But different again.
Yeah,
really innovative format.
Yeah, so we're out there. Press release has gone out. It's maybe hasn't been picked up by as many at the moment because we're at, you know, Tour de France time, and we've got the MyWhoosh Championships and a lot of these things happening. I think people are trying to get through that aspect first. But look, yeah, we saw what happened last year, and to me, in my sporting career, which was rubbish, my work career, anything that I've done, that last 400 metres of the women's race, absolute highlight of that. That was 30 years of me riding out places by myself, thinking about, if I could do something, how could I put it together? And the fact that came down to a second to decide the World Championships, and the excitement and things that went with that, just went, that's just, how do we make it better? How do we try to get that again? How do I get that feeling back?
And the pressure's on, right? Because I walk outside the studio here, and there's that large screen, and I see your face. But that moment of Kate, you know, the expression on her face, the emotion of that moment, I've seen maybe 20 times in this last couple of days as I've walked through here. And I guess that's also adds a little pressure, right? Because how do you try and recreate those emotional, exciting moments that we had last year?
And for me, what happened had nothing to do with who won. I didn't know Kate or Gabriella at all at that point of my life. They were two ladies that had turned up, and I'd seen them on SRC, and I'd said g'day. So it wasn't I was supporting one more than the other. It was just all of what the whole team did. And, you know, it just came down to that last second of the race, right? And so, and even the men's race, like, it was only a minute or so to the end that Lionel couldn't win that, right? So that was still exciting. It was just the women's was just a little bit more exciting, right? But this year what we decided to do was go, okay, how do we look at this a bit differently? Do we bring gamification in? We had a lot of talk about that. And we decided no. But how do we bring a different element in? That was the key. I wanted a different element into what we did. And so the format looks as simple as this. Stage 1 is a points race. I think it's 8 laps of a 1.5 kilometre circuit. I think it's 20 points for each one and 40 for the last one. There'll only be 20 people racing, so 20 points, obviously, 20 to 1. But the circuit's hard.
There's a little bit of a rise right now, I noticed.
So you come into the finish of each sprint, and then it kicks up, and then it drops a little bit, and then it kicks up again, and then you swing around down and come back into the finish line. So the question's going to be, how hard do you sprint if someone's going to go over the top when you cross the finish line? And I'm not divulging people's tactics, like looking at it as a bike rider. I'm going, if I sprint too hard here, and someone goes over the top.
Redlined. Yeah.
Yeah, who's going to take me back? All of that stuff. And we're talking at a lot bigger level than what I'm capable of doing, but it was like, okay, so they've got to think about it.
Yep.
Because stage 1 last year was a real differentiator, something we'd not done before,
Yes.
fastest
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that segment. And in a way, I'm not going to say it didn't work, it just didn't go where I thought it would go.
It was interesting, right? Because for me, and we've said this before, the men's moment where they stopped for that tactical moment
Yep.
was one of the highlights, apart from the finish of both races.
Yep.
But then, arguably, we had 9 minutes of not a lot happening after that.
Yep.
So I can kind of see
Yep.
it from both sides. It kind of created that moment which, like, genuinely, like, goosebump at the start, like, because I could hear the panic in me say, "What's going on? Why has everyone stopped pedaling?" Like, no, this is what rolling out. So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but so I think on this one, we wanted to really mix it up, and you could run 8th and 9th in each one and come away with a real swag of points if you're not a sprinter. Interesting to see if someone attacks, gets away. I don't know how that one pans out, but there's no lack of action. There's a sprint every 1.5 kilometres.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's a big points race from the track.
Yeah.
But with that little bit of, you're going to have a real think about it. And I think, again, for the ladies, it's exactly the same. We're going to have what you find with some of the ladies is the more so than the men, those that sprint really, really well tend to not be able to hold the power as well.
Yeah.
Some of the men can hang on a little bit better and do both,
Yeah.
I've noticed. So we sort of get the top ladies are different. But so we're going to get a little bit different dynamic in the ladies' race and the men's race, definitely. Then stage 2 is like a points accumulator. So it's a bit, we had a really popular thing called Tune Up Tuesday.
Yeah.
And this is an event where they head out from the start. There's a sprint quite early on, just a sprint point. And it's fastest through the segment. So you could roll 20k an hour, be off the back of the group and just go for the segment.
We still have that format, It's
We
called
do.
Rampage now.
It's called Rampage. Okay, there you go. Then the riders head into a set of rollers. Now, for the SRC riders, if you think of that awful course they make us do in Alula.
Yeah, with the 7 kickers.
There's those 7 kickers, and I get to kick a 5, and I'm like, I'm going to get dropped here every single time. It's very similar to that, but just way harder. And so that's a block. It's 2 kilometres or something, I think. So again, that's going to be points based on that. Then we've got another sprint point not long after that. Then up over a climb is the next one, and then down to the finish. So we've got to brief people on how it all works. The riders and us people that are involved in this understand that's how that system works. So that, again, that's going to be, you can ride away and get some points on the finish line. Do you attack? Do you whatever? So to me, all things going well, your stronger sprinter, strength artist is going to be heading into stage 3. Stage 3 is where the fun begins. In my books, this is where I'm super proud of where we've gotten to, and it basically starts flat, and I think it's 300 meters, it gets steeper and steeper and steeper and steeper until we end up at, I think, 18% at the end. Everybody starts together, but there's going to be a big red line following the riders. That line's going to give them a head start, and it's going to set off at a fixed speed.
Yeah, like a couple of minutes behind, it'll set off,
And when it catches you, you're eliminated.
Yeah.
It's a different twist on an elimination race. You'll be able to see your competitors, but you get points. I think every 5 seconds that you survive is a point.
Yeah.
So if you're out there for a minute or two longer than some of let's say the bigger sprinters that may not climb as well, certainly once you get over that 10, 11%, right, there can be big gaps.
Yeah.
So it's certainly a format, I think, that we're not going to know the winner till the end. Like, I know that's a ridiculous saying.
You literally won't know, right?
But you're just not going to know because, even like the one-paced guys, and I don't mean to say that, people like Michael and Jason and whatever are one-paced, but your lighter climbers, if they can qualify and get through on this gets so steep that the Michael Planteros of the world, who's 54, 55 kilos, that hang around, and little Inamalostics that hang around the 10th to 15th in Cat 1, all of a sudden, 55 kilos is a huge benefit over 68, 70 kilos.
Yeah.
So Yeah, this can pan out very, very differently. And so, again, the ladies will do exactly the same. The speed of the line may change a little. We aiming for the stage to go for about 18 to 20 minutes.
Yep.
And they'll all be caught. There really is no finish line. Finish line is when the last person gets caught. Yep. So, a bit of an interesting few risks in there, I think, for us on that one. Not technically, but just in, does it provide the show that we would like to provide?
Yeah. On paper, it certainly does, right? And I don't know, again, because I'm not always in the office here. I don't know how much testing you've got, but I just have to say, I've seen the visuals today with the broadcast team of all the routes. It's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, it's good.
Obviously, because the road worlds are Africa this time as well, right?
Yeah.
And so we've kind of gone for this African theme vibe, and I have to say the imagery.
It's good,
but then there's like futuristic parts, safari parts.
Yeah.
There's a really cool mix in that.
And the great part this year is the team, and even part of our teams that maybe don't have the cycling background that we do. They really understood what the brief was. Yeah. So we've actually worked as a team. Last year I had to guide a little bit, and it was maybe more my ideas. Where this year it's a team. It's been a real team effort. Bart's come up with he's done all the point systems, and it's bang on.
Good.
Rod's been working on the speed of the line and the elevation of the climbs and all of that stuff. So I
think that's one thing I've noticed here as well, of the learnings that the non-cycling guys took, but also what we picked up from the more gamers that we have in the organisation. And I know we've only seen some images of what this chase here red line is going to look like, but even some of the concepts I've seen so far, whatever that ends up like, whether it's a line, whatever it might be, I'm not getting any spoilers, but some of those concepts, you can see the influence that we've had from this more. I will say younger than us and more gamer than you and I are.
Look, we're not going to go with it, but we had a real look at doing zombies.
Yeah.
And they ran a little test, and it was zombies like swiping at people and hitting them like 3 times before they were out, and they were then getting shot, and there was all sorts of things. It was maybe a little bit too much.
Maybe not for the UCI event.
Maybe not for the UCI event, but let's look how we can
cool
maybe
feature, though.
do something else.
How would you work hard on an interval if a virtual zombie was chasing you?
Chasing,
That's
so
interesting.
So there were some really good concepts, and there's a lot of excitement. We've got as we speak, we've got the trainers are being verified, filmed, tested by the UCI and our team at the moment. So Rod, who does all this technical stuff these days, I'm sure all the listeners know Rod now. He's over there with the team from Elite and the UCI in Italy. They're running through the same process, but a little bit more advanced as last year. So the trainers will be all verified. They're going to go over to the Purdue University as part of this. So get some accurate things. We've been speaking with a few other people in that space, in the power meter space. So there might be some exciting news coming out from that moving forward. We're all buckled in. I think it's just a busy period for us. It's get through this MyWhoosh Championships. We've got a whole new campaign we're going to release around the business as well, which is going to happen shortly. We've got the UCI. There's just so much going on within the business, and it's great. It's exciting. We've come a long way, and
a lot of stuff happening event-wise. One more big thing I think we've got to talk about before we close up the show, which is the update, because that's literally going out today. 5.1, I think this one is.
Yep.
Integrations in there, something I've been working on in there, but maybe you want to go through the sort of the integration partners that we've got a bit first.
Yeah, so as we always say, we're part of the community, and we want to community requests. And the most common integrations we get asked for is Garmin, and we've always battled along with that. We've spoken to them. We haven't quite been able to put that to bed yet. But the second and the third biggest ones by far have been Xert or Xert, or however we want to pronounce it, depending where you're from, and Intervals.ICU.
Yeah.
So we've been able to bring them across into the platform. They'll be available from today or whenever people hear this now. It's a cool setup. Like I sort of, I'm the guy that goes out and just rides because I just like riding and all those sort of things. And I don't want to have a coach. I don't want to do all of those things. And these pieces, especially Xert, that I've had to play around in, it's a 30-day free trial. I just use that. Yeah. Will I spend $15? I don't know. Maybe not. But it takes my data from other places. It brings them into the game, into its thing.
System.
It tells me what workout to do.
Yeah.
So how I sort of used it is, I get up and I go for a ride, but if I miss that, I can just push the thing and it tells me what I want and it comes into the game and it's cool. And I just want to be really clear to everybody. There's no obligation between MyWhoosh and Xert and Intervals.ICU. We're not getting paid for this. We're not paying them. There's nothing there apart from this is just an integration that people wanted.
Yep.
They were great. They've jumped on board. They've helped us do the integration and these, what are they called, APIs and the things that we need to do
You're
these
getting
things.
good
I'm getting
technically,
good,
well.
eh? You should see me on Excel now. I'm a wizard. So, look, I just think it's a great addition to what we're doing.
Yep.
That's all.
No, I think the Xert one is interesting. I've used Intervals.ICU, and I remember even I mentioned it when I first joined there. They have this little thing called, what I call Weebles. I don't know if that's the technical term, but basically it's like, how many matches have you got left?
Yep.
During that race, how many matches did you burn? Eventually you run out and that kind of thing. So I used to use that a lot and just have a look at the training intensity post-ride or post-race. But I've got a lot of friends who use this Xert because it's AI, right? And I think AI is growing in this space rapidly from a training and coaching point of view. And I know a lot of friends, I've had mates ring me saying, I can't do that 2-hour social ride today because Xert's told me I've got to do this session and so on. So, yeah, I think it's really cool. And like I say, you got your 30-day free trial there. It just seems like a cool integration. And I remember seeing on Facebook that people were asking for this for quite some time. So it's good that we've managed to get that done.
Yeah, for sure. And look, as we know, there's lots of training plans and workouts and things. And Sinead that's working for us is looking at building some of those out now. Some MyWhoosh designed workouts and training plans are growing. And we'll get more coaches will push those. I think maybe some of your live coaches might give us some of their personal sessions in the future. But I think this is going to be the way cycling goes, right? This AI coach thing. We've spoken to a lot of people about it. There's a lot of people wanting to integrate. There's a lot of people starting to play in this space. We've had a look at it ourselves as well. Yep. And will we end up down that track? Maybe. Maybe it's an inclusion in MyWhoosh in the future. But I think that the ability to have all of it knows everything about me. It can tell me what I need to do or don't want to do. And I think certainly for those people, I think there's always that room for the coach. For people. There's always a room for the people that just like to have a ride around and just enjoy either being outside or inside and exploring the world and chasing badges and doing all those things. But if you want a little bit of, hey, what do I do today to see where I can improve or fix some holes in my cycling, I think this AI stuff's going to be, we're all going to be doing it at some point.
I think what it does for me as well is I think we're a pretty comprehensive platform. And certainly when I'm out and about and people ask me, well, is MyWhoosh more racing? And people remember SRC. That's the one. Oh, yeah, you the guys who do SRC. But I think the fact is that the vast majority of our community don't actually race. They're doing training, or they're doing VODs, or the free riding, or they're using the MyWhoosh 24/7 because we're sort of many things, and there are different things you can do. And I think, again, just having these multiple options in terms of these, whether it be Training Peaks or Intervals.ICU or Xert or wherever it might be, it just adds to that sort of comprehensive nature. You don't have to come on and race. Racing's there.
Yep. Definitely. And I think that leads into the piece that you've been working on a lot, these missions, challenges, whatever we want to call them. Missions, I think, is where we're at. And how they work and how we're going to engage users and bring people into one place.
Yeah, I'm glad you identified that because I want to mention the mission. So, we're going to bring in the missions. The first one is this Pursuit of Yellow. So this is going to kick off first week in July. Well, about the 5th of July when the Tour de France kicks in. So the idea is that we have these themes that are tied in to real life events or just the seasonal events that happen. So I mentioned this sort of having an extended tour after the 1st of January. We did the MyWhoosh 300 last time. So there'll be themes. The classic season will be in Belgium. We're doing more cobble based. But I guess one of the things, we've spoke about this before. We have many thousands of people on the platform doing workouts, doing free ride. We've got selected events, I think, where we get really good attendance. SRC, of course, the MyWhoosh Masters, which we can talk about in a second as well, which is really growing now with that, and we need to see you at that at some point as well. But it is somewhere we've got to improve, get people in events. And what we want to try and do is target people to an event so we get more of that community feel into events. Because you see in the live sessions, there's the chat going on in the live sessions. We've got 50 plus people in these sessions pushing each other. You know, for me, the best thing that happens in those live sessions is when a community member types in there, last one, guys, let's go together. I don't need to say anything. You know, and that gets me going as well. And this is, again, it's how do we get that community into the event? So the idea is the Pursuit of Yellow will have 3 stages. Week 1 will be a group ride. People want to race it, they can race it. That's all fine. And that unlocks stage 1, 30% of the challenge. Then we've got this individual time trial about the same time as they're running the sort of the prologue in the tour as well. And then we've got this group ride / race to finish as well. You do all 3 and you get these unlocks. So you get the yellow Colnago V4 RS it was then, wasn't it? So we've got that. I think you probably purchased that with coins. I'm going to unlock it with this mission. We've got a jersey. We've got the NV wheels with the yellow logos on as well. And then there's these new mission badges. So what people are going to see, the bottom left-hand corners, you'll have missions on there. These 3 challenges within that. When you've done, you get these unlocks. But more importantly, it's just an event that we can go together, have a chat, ride together, tackle some of the new routes in the future as well that are coming. And just try and get that community together in the events.
Yeah, look, I really like that, Si, and I'm probably not as close to this as you are, and I know your plans are quite big, and it's a main driver for our community. Look, I really like it. As you said earlier, we've got a huge user base, bigger than what most people would dream of. But our concern, or where we'd like to change that, is they're not all coming into one place.
Yep.
So a lot of people say, oh, you don't quite have the community feel that I would like. And I think part of that is the community's not working for a common goal. So in this space, for me, as somebody that does do these types of things, if I can jump on and there's 100 people working towards stage 1, then I'm very much more likely to join stage 2 and then stage 3. Where you talk about your masters racing, every week I say, yeah, I'll jump on. And it comes to it and it's like, there's no reason for me to do it. Where with this, it brings us all into one place. And our common goal is just to finish, to tick the box. That's all it is, right? And sure, we get a reward from it, but it's congregating a group of people into one spot. We get a bigger community, a bigger group, chasing a reward. Now, what I would like to do, and I don't know whether we get further in this, and probably oversharing today, but I do that a little bit.
Do that a lot.
I was lucky enough to be in Lake Annecy in France just recently. I'd gone on a ride, I got lost, I had to do a U-turn, I was tired, I'd been out there for about 5 or 6 hours, and I saw a cafe that had 7 or 8 bike riders in it as I'm riding back. I think I was about 20k out of Annecy. I sat down by myself. They said, g'day, as bike riders do, and I thought this would be a good cafe as bike riders there, as it goes. And one of them said to me, hey, do you work at MyWhoosh?
You were kitted up, I guess.
I was kitted up, okay? I don't leave home without the full kit on, because someone said to me, you know, if you can't be a bike rider, you need to look like one. All right, so I've gone with that my whole career. And I'm in, and I said, yeah, I work there. And one said, yeah, my bike fitter, she makes a lot of money out of SRC. One of the other guys said to me, he goes, yeah, a mate of mine, he doesn't race with us anymore. He races SRC.
That's what he's doing on a Sunday, yeah.
And then the other guy said, yeah, I know a guy up in the north in England who does SRC, right? We have this conversation about SRC. None of them did SRC. None of them used MyWhoosh. They knew about MyWhoosh, but they thought MyWhoosh was this racing SRC platform. So we want to work really hard to change that. And maybe what we do is some of these communities, let's get some of the MyWhoosh jerseys out to some of these groups as well. Make them proud. Like let's hope we can do it. Let's have a think about it. And if our listeners like it, let's work on some of these missions. Let's get some physical stuff out in the market. Let's let people be proud that they've done this stuff. Now, I know for MyWhoosh Championships, we're going to have some jerseys.
Is that out there now? Because I know I've seen you've got one of the sample jerseys on it.
Yeah, I wore a sample jersey this morning, actually. Apricot in colour.
And I was holding onto the back of your wheel. I've not seen this before.
Yeah. Your bike's 1.5 meters longer than mine. But I think that really is going to help our community. Yeah. And if they're all joining in together to get a MyWhoosh jersey physically that they can take out to the coffee shop, and even those people that then see them in a MyWhoosh jersey and have a chat about it. Oh, I got that through competing 4 or 5 events on MyWhoosh, and they go, MyWhoosh sent out a jersey for that? I ride it all the time. Yeah, it's got this, it's got that. I think that's going to really help this because we talk about this community feel.
Yeah.
But we really, really need to find ways to push this forward.
Yeah.
So that's on me. I'm going to try to push this out. Let's try to see what we can do with that. But I think, it seems that we've got this community that's really strong and they really talk about us and they really support us, but we're not getting them in one place.
They're in different places.
They're in
on
different
the platform.
places.
Yeah. And I see that, that you mentioned the Masters racing there. That community who we race with, and I love seeing the different race reports now that we get on Facebook and stuff, and it's a bit of banter there as well. I did see your name popped up saying when's Matt going to come join us on these Masters. So we're getting close to the end of the first season, but we've got 2 weeks break, and then I think early first week of June we're going to kick off with the Masters again on a Friday, which it's been great racing because you don't have to be verified for that as well. So as long as you've got a heart rate monitor and a smart trainer, you can just rock up and ride on a Friday morning or a Friday afternoon as well. And dependent on the course, I've been selecting whether I ride in the morning or the afternoon because I've figured out now the Aussies are all riding in the morning, which is the evening for them, I guess, for me.
Yeah. Can I talk about Australians for a minute? So obviously I'm Australian, as people
Figured
know.
that,
yeah. And I haven't been back there. I've been there twice in the last couple of years and haven't spent much time at home at all. We're doing the Australian Club Championship.
The Aussie Club Cycling Club Series,
Yeah. And the numbers, we're getting like 100, I think it's on tonight or tomorrow night again, the second one. We're getting nearly 100 people first week. So that was bigger than they had last year. Not that that's a problem with other platforms. Other platforms are great that they hosted that on. And then I've just done some data for the World Bicycle Day that was a couple of weeks ago. Literally before we came in here, biggest country representing Australia. Yeah. So
is that the Matt influence? Then?
No, I don't think it is at all. I'd say that someone else down there is
doing
doing
a really good job. So you've had the national champs though over there that you went to see, which was awesome as well.
Yeah. So shout out to all my brothers down under. It's cool because honestly, we didn't have a very big take up. Of MyWhoosh down there. It was a bit of a struggle for us. It was, other platforms and, maybe they don't see as much of the pro racing with Tade and the name and that sort of stuff as others because of the time frames and some things like that. But I think the work we've done with Oz Cycling, I think doing the national championships that we did live and in venue and that stuff, I think we've maybe got a bit of a name. Yeah, we're getting, and I can't wait to see what we get in the next
next couple of weeks, because again, I think week on week, she was saying Carly, who we're dealing with down there as well, she expected the numbers to grow. But that Friday morning with those Aussies, that's like the end of the day on Friday. Those guys are fired up and ready to go. So on the flat stuff, I'm sticking with him. But then Peter Milostich has been in there as well. So if it's climbing, I'm racing in the afternoon. Yeah,
look, I've been racing Peter for 30 years, and if it's climbing, Peter's racing by himself most of the time. He's beaten everyone. He's the best bike rider Australia's had.
We're just chasing Peter on those climbs.
He's the best bike rider Australia's had that wasn't a pro for,
really?
Oh, yeah, he's unbelievable.
I don't feel so bad about that, though.
Every Saturday, every Sunday since I was 14, I've had to race Peter. And it's just a matter of how long can you hang on to Peter. So don't feel bad about it. Right. And the worst part is his son's better than him now.
This is the Lyndon, right?
Yeah. So, I think it's interesting, and we can talk about Peter. I think having people like that people know, so Peter's very well known in certainly a masters cycling in Australia. I think if they're showing that they're supporting, I think other people start to go, that's not a bad platform. Yeah. It's not a bad thing to be part of. And it's funny, Peter and I raced each other, and I wouldn't say we disliked each other, but we didn't go and have a coffee for 30 years. We chat 5 times a week now. He's even got Facebook, so I can have a chat with him. We talk about SRC and we talk about all these things. And not that it breaks down barriers, but I think that this is where this sport and esports and that is so great. Yeah. I went for a ride with him and his son when I was in Australia, and we talked MyWhoosh, and we talked, and these communities bring these people together, and it finds out. Peter and I clash with each other because guess what? We're exactly the same. It's just taken us 30 years to realise we...
Are you in the same masters category as well?
Same category as the whole thing, right?
Okay.
And so it's just great. And I've heard that from other people. I've heard some of the Brazilian guys have talked like that.
Yeah.
That they've come together with people they've raced against and they haven't known and they have never met. And then they start to do all these things, or they've been their enemies and now they're MyWhooshing and SRCing together. And so it's fun.
It's interesting, right? Because you've got this mergence you know, both from a people and a community point of view, you know, and I've been fortunate enough to meet many people that we've ridden with online over the last year or two in real life as well. We met lots of them when we went Zurich for the UCI Worlds, for example. You know, you've got this merging, you know, you mentioned this, the possibility of having real life jerseys, you know, being able to do the MyWhoosh Championships, which is not getting the badge of honor, but the jersey that represents that, not just virtually, but in real life as well. Again, just having this crossover with those two worlds, because ultimately, if you ride a bike indoors, the chances are you're going to ride a bike outdoors as well. And if you can have that crossover and just sharing, you know, the brand and the same community, we're all just bike riders. We just want to get on a bike. It's, you know, free to ride outside. We said this before. It's free to ride indoors, and you know, you can chat. Yeah, you know, it's great from that point of view, and I think that leads nicely on. We've chatted a lot today, but you know, it's probably getting closer to wrap up the show. You know, but we want the community to get involved more. We also want the community to get involved in this show, Inside the Ride. So Matt spoke briefly, I think, a bit earlier about some of the new social things that we're going to be working on as well. That also represented here. So we want your stories. We're going to dedicate a part of the show every single time we do one of these shows to you, the community. So whether it be funny stories from events, whether they be real life or virtual, we want to hear about those. You know, maybe it's something about the training, you know, from that point of view. Drop those into socials, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're across all of them, Matt, now. I'm not sure if you know what TikTok is, but it exists.
I'm
it's
all
a
over TikTok.
Are you there?
Yeah, what else do people do after 6 p.m. apart from
I've got no
TikTok?
telly in the apartment that I'm staying in while I'm here, so I am like doom scrolling TikTok all the time. But we've got the hashtag as well, Ride MyWhoosh. So tag us in on those, and we'll make you guys part of the community as well. As I've already mentioned, we've got plenty of guests lined up as well. So hopefully we're going to get the guys on from the performance coach from UAE Emirates onto the next show. Hopefully we'll get that in before the tour at the same time. Nutritionists, sports science experts. Hopefully we'll get a few athletes on as well. Again, if you could make this Tadej thing happen as well, that would be absolutely phenomenal. More missions coming up. We've got Peter Sagan involved in the September mission as well. So there's a lot going on. Inside the Ride podcast, thank you for joining us here today, myself and Matt. We'll get Matt on as a guest in the future as well. So we're definitely removing the co-host as a guest. So when there's exciting stuff coming up, event-wise, feature-wise, thanks for joining us again, Matt.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you again for another episode of Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh.
On this journey we'll guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah.